themselves in their shoes. It reminds me of the 1982 film Firefox, starring Clint Eastwood. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so let's take a look at a clip.
Great.
But this is very important, Mr. Gant. You must think in Russian. You cannot think in English and transpose. You must think in Russian. Do you think you can do that, Mr. Gant?
Yes, I can.
So it's truly eye-opening when we can think in a foreign language. It also reminds me of the 1994 blackout in Los Angeles. Many LA residents looked up in the sky and saw the beautiful Milky Way for the first time. And some people were so scared that they called 911. So let's talk about languages. We're lucky again to have Dr. Laura Wilhelm with us today. Laura has a doctorate degree in Russian language and literature from the University of Kansas. So she speaks 7 or 8 languages, including Croatian, French, Italian, Russian, and of course, English. So what are the most widely spoken languages in the United States and why?
Well, the one I'm speaking right now, which is a mother tongue, is English. And that is spoken by just about everyone in the country, at least as a second language. It is, however, not the official language. It's the language of politics and news broadcasts and public health announcements and so on. So it's definitely advantageous to know English, but it's not the official language. In fact, there are over 350 language groups represented in the United States. We have a large Native American population that's tiny little groups of people speak languages. And United States is widely known for accepting immigrants from all over the world. So we also have quite a few small splinter groups of immigrants that speak their own languages and usually English as well.
Yeah, why do you think we don't have an official language in the US?
I think it has to do with the emphasis on independence, that it's as the same way that we have freedom of religion, we have freedom of language. It's up to people to speak English or not.
That's amazing.
I think it's always to their great advantage, and you are a person that has mastered it very well and made a successful career because of it. You're the kind of person that you could point to and say, those are the advantages of speaking English well. Not everyone is willing or capable of mastering the main language of the country. So that's considered to be their choice, just like voting is their choice.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be in your best interest not to vote, but it's up to you to do it or not. You're not forced either way.
Definitely. That's very interesting. So which of these languages could best be used for and what purposes and why?
Okay, well, the three of the most common languages in the country are Spanish, Chinese, and French. So I'll talk about those. Spanish is the most widely spoken language after English. It's represented in 43 states as the second language behind English. So because we have a large border with Mexico, we have a large country just to the immediate south of us, Cuba, where we got a lot of Spanish-speaking immigrants, and also South America. South America is a major source of immigration also. So Spanish, and then Chinese. You yourself are a Chinese emigre, and we're on the Pacific Rim. So there are over 1 billion speakers of Chinese. So it's not surprising we'd be attracting a lot of Chinese speakers as well. And then French has been popular. The French colonized the United States before the Americans. So in Canada, we have a border with Canada. It's the longest one in the world. So you have a second language. 2 official languages, Canada are English and French. So there is interchange there. And in Louisiana, there was quite a bit of immigration also. So a common language spoken down in New Orleans, and that region is also French. That was my second language. My father had it in high school, and so he taught it to me when I was little, because he figured that I would be better able to absorb it at that age.
That's
and
wonderful.
Those are all useful. They're UN languages. If you're contemplating making a career in international diplomacy, those are excellent languages to know. They can be very difficult, especially Chinese for English speakers. But if you invest the time early in life, you can certainly be helped in your career. All of these people are interested in doing business with the United States. So if you want to make yourself successful in international business, the language skills are useful. And
This
then
definitely makes a lot of business sense.
yeah, and I have gotten positions because of my language abilities. I'm a judge and board member on the French Riviera Film Festival, and my French abilities, the person that invited me to be on the board is a French speaker of Canadian with native French heritage. So it may be a career asset to know these languages quite well and to do things overseas.
Absolutely. So what are some creative ways to learn these languages?
In the United States, it's not the biggest country. It's not like China or Russia. It's not so huge you can't get around it, and it's very well covered by interstates, and you can get AAA, and you'll be safe on the road. And in just about every state, you'll find English speakers. So it's a good place to explore native communities of people who speak a different language, either that's their first or second. So I would recommend going to Montreal, a beautiful city, for French, or New Orleans for Chinese, Las Vegas and San Francisco. And for Spanish, just about anywhere in this region. I'm in Southern California. Come to San Diego. You can, about 30 minutes away is the Mexican border. So you can get a great deal of practice in certain areas of the country that have large populations. New York, like Los Angeles, New York is a very multicultural city. It's very large. It can be overwhelming for people. I would actually recommend the very lively communities outside of the huge cities, because you want immersion, but you don't want to feel out of your depth. It's fun to go to Las Vegas anyway, perhaps, and then you can go visit Chinese restaurants and see if the people will let you practice with them, at least ordering your food or doing something simple.
Yeah, there are Chinatowns everywhere, right? So you just go there and within the same state where you live and learn Chinese that way.
In the United States, speakers of all those languages are quite friendly. They're say overseas, maybe the Spanish and the French don't seem very open to tourists because they got so many tourists, and maybe they just get tired of people speaking to them in different languages. But I think in the United States, you'll have more buy-in if you ask politely to practice your second or third language. So that can be a fun way to make the overtures.
I agree, and to make new friends too.
So that's one way. The internet is a wonderful godsend. The internet had not launched when I started studying languages way back when in the 70s. So there are amazing online resources. You can make, what I like about it is it lets you fit it in. It's kind of like exercise. Every day you can practice 20 or 30 minutes of Italian. You have an online program and you can just repeat the words, or you can go over the forms or whatever. You'll want to work with a tutor or be in a class or something like that, but you can also make dates with yourself to just, it's like practicing the piano or something. You can just run through drills and things on your own. So the internet is awesome. And I think you should also always have a study buddy or some, group of people to study with. I think it helps keep you on track. It's like writer's block. I think it's called language block. You can easily hit walls with language, especially adults, because you're probably overthinking. It's easy to overthink things rather than try to speak fluently or trying to speak correctly. And so it's good to have people that can just guide you into unconscious language usage. And that could be friends or people you're close to from your classes.
Right. Now, what would be the ideal time of life for speakers of English to learn these languages? I would imagine that the earlier the better, right?
The earlier the better. Yeah, anytime, if you want to do it, you should do it. I would never discourage anyone from trying, but it's much, much easier earlier in life. That's why my father, the neuroscientist, knew, I had the window of opportunity when I was a tiny child. I could hardly even remember when we started. That's the best age. If you know language, or you can bring in a tutor when your children are small, that's by far the best time to do it. And they'll thank you forever, because you'll save them so many headaches later on. It's really the best time. It's like music. Again, I was a musical child. I was asking for violin lessons when I was about 5 years old. And there are certain capabilities that people have. So if you notice that children are naturally good at singing, naturally good at playing musical instruments, like to talk, these are all indications that they probably be good at mastering foreign languages as well. So you might see if that would interest them, because it would certainly be a benefit.
Right. So are there other languages that you might want to recommend to English speakers, and why?
Yeah, I think heritage languages are really great because you have that deep interest in your own culture. We're considered a nation of immigrants. Usually the immigrant roots are not very deep for people in the United States. My mother may have Mayflower heritage, but even that only goes back so far. You know, that's 1620. My father's family came over mostly in the 19th century from various European nations. And, you know, most of the people in the family by now have forgotten the heritage languages. So there are many people like us that want to go back and find out about German or Polish or whatever, Swedish, wherever, just to track down your ancestors in the old countries. So that's a good motivator. As you stated, my main language of interest is Russian. I chose it because it was a defense language, and there was a lot going on in the 70s with Richard Nixon, of all people. He was opening the door on Russia and China, and I just thought it would be interesting to study one of those languages, so I could deepen my you know, kind of ambitions to work in politics or international relations. So Russian is a good one, I think. Still, Arabic is really difficult, I think even more so than Russian, but those are both UN languages also. So those are helpful in certain kinds of careers. And then my husband studies Latin. That's his main area of expertise. And for English speakers, that's still one of the best ancient languages to learn because about 60% of English words are based upon Latin roots.
Right.
So for exam preparation, such as SATs or GREs, it's very good to know Latin. If you're planning to go into medicine or law, pre-med or pre-law, a lot of roots in those fields come from Latin also. So for sort of vocabulary building and terminology, Latin is still a very good one for English speakers.
Yeah, so you mentioned politics and you know, different cultures and countries and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So the final question is that how does language learning advance the goals of transhumanism, which is to advance the human civilization as a whole and achieve global peace?
Well, it all depends on your attitude, I think. You know, they call it the Tower of Babel sometimes, that there are so many languages, people don't understand each other. But obviously language is meant as a tool of communication. So if you go in with that goal in mind, you're very likely to break boundaries between people. And I think that it's also very difficult to do it. I think that Americans often, because it's a major nation and a major language, we don't do the hard work of having to master other languages, don't realize that the struggles that immigrants and minorities often experience just trying to make it in the main culture. So I think, you know, if you go to France, you know, even another major country, and try to speak French, I think you are more empathetic to those kinds of difficulties, having experienced them yourself. So I think it makes you kinder and humbler to learn language. And I think it also makes you braver and bolder because you realize that you have knowledge. Knowledge is a source of power, and power makes you more confident. So it's like if you can handle business transactions and get deals that no one else can get because you can speak Chinese or French, it's an excellent thing to be able to do. It's very advantageous. And so you realize that, you know, remaining in your comfort zone is not the only way to live. that you can spread your wings and try to do things a different way, and possibly enjoy experiences and successes that you wouldn't have been able to without the other language.
Definitely, I agree. Yeah, I'd like to mention that a nonprofit is the fiscal sponsor of a project called English Language Network of Refugees. It teaches English to children and adults living in refugees camps. So
Terrific.
I think this is a great, a very good project to support.
So children and adults learn languages together?
Yes.
Yeah, and the children are better at it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The children lead the way on that, I'm sure.
Right. And
yeah, the other thing that's really awesome about children is that they tend not to see, they are much more tuned into other people's behavior. They see past barriers of language, race, you know, religion, all of the things that adults see right away. They just want to talk to kids that are kind to them and let them use their toys and like the same games that they like and all this stuff. And if they like someone, they will speak with them very fluently. And I think it can be very touching to watch that. And and sometimes gives adults a good lesson themselves as to how to behave in the global economy.
That's true. Yes, it's just amazing. Yes. So yeah, I mean, if we can all learn more about transhumanism. I actually have a book called the Transhumanism Handbook right here.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's kind of a big book published by Spring and Nature, but I have professors, I have scholars, scientists, philosophers, religious leaders, and of course, medical researchers, all kinds of ideas, all kinds of concepts, and it's really good. The way to discuss the future of humanity.
Yeah. Psycholinguistics is a very interesting field because language is a form of cognition. It gives some insight into universals of human thought. Language is sort of the surface level, but there are certain ways to think that are universal. And so I think that's another transhumanist goal, or transhumanist preoccupation anyway. It's just
of course, yes.
looking past the surface of things and finding the essentials that are important to everybody.
Right, absolutely.
That's what I like about language. If you say one other, you may not get get to the deeper levels. But as you go further and travel the world and find out more and more about different languages, I think you see that it's all part of a bigger picture.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Laura. It's really nice to chat with you today. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share?
No, I really would like to get more involved with your language projects. And I think that now that we passed our enormous COVID crisis, I'll be glad to get back to peacetime activities that are time consuming, but in a good way. I mean, they consume our time in pleasant ways. Now that our minds are not going to be so preoccupied with other things. So hopefully people will have now more motivation to tackle the big challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And I think learning languages is definitely a foundation for many of those things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.